Muy buenos días.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Colindres. I am a nanny, a member, and an organizing fellow at Matahari Women Workers Center. The Matahari Women Workers Center is a social justice organization of families, women workers, women of color, and immigrant women who organize as sisters for personal and societal transformation. Our mission is to end gender-based violence and exploitation. We organize domestic workers. Excuse me. Our mission is to end gender-based violence and exploitation. We organize domestic workers, including nannies, au pairs, home care workers, and house cleaners, restaurant workers, and other immigrant women workers. Thank you for joining us today at our virtual press conference as we call for strong protections for immigrant workers and announce our efforts to win back tens of thousands of dollars in owed wages to these immigrant women workers. Thank you for being here. Thank you to each of you and welcome.
Buenos días. My name is Laura.
Good morning.
Today. I am a community organizer at Matahari Women Workers Center. The pandemic has provided us with the opportunity to recognize the dignity of all workers, including essential workers who risk their lives on a daily basis to keep our cities running. Days before Christmas 2020, we recovered $15,000 of stolen wages for Maria, a domestic worker of Chelsea. Following in the footsteps of Maria, today, 7 additional workers across multiple sectors, from domestic work to food industry, are launching campaigns to call for the immediate payment of tens of thousands of dollars owed to them. We're so excited to welcome almost 200 workers and partners on this call today. After this wage theft conference, we're excited to continue International Nanny Training Day, where over 200 nannies and workers are coming together to learn their rights and develop the industry. Today, we are here speaking up for the thousands of Massachusetts residents who are struggling to get by on low wages, often without any benefits such as paid sick leave. Through Matahari's Vaccine Access Campaign, we called for all domestic workers to be included with other essential workers in early vaccine access. Through our efforts, we won the inclusion of house cleaners in phase 2, while nannies and au pairs, who are critical childcare workers, remain explicitly excluded. Today is the eve of the vaccine access for the general public, finally giving access to unseen essential workers excluded from the state's essential worker phase of vaccination, including nannies and au pairs. This is a disappointing reflection of the chronic exclusion of domestic workers and other immigrant workers from basic protections. Failure to pay for workers' hours or work owed is wage theft. It is neither a new practice or a new crime. Through the bravery of the worker voices today, we are shedding light on this form of labor exploitation in its many forms. From businesses facing bankruptcy while dispensing rubber checks that are never meant to be cashed by their workers, to domestic workers being denied paid for overtime hours. Workers experience wage theft range from restaurant workers, nannies, delivery messengers, retail workers, to home care workers, and many others. Workers' hardships are compounded when their employers refuse to pay their owed wages, pay less than minimum wage, misclassify employees as independent contractors to avert labor laws, pay less when they are committed to a written agreement, or fail to pay overtime when employees' hours exceed 40 hours in a week. Immigrant women workers are coming together through Matahari's Our Work, Our Worth wage theft campaign to win back the money they are owed, inspire other workers to assert their rights, and to send a clear message to employers that they can't take advantage of immigrant workers, that wage theft is unjust and illegal. Too often, domestic workers and other immigrant workers work in isolation and must act alone to get back the pay that they are owed. Through this campaign, we bring together workers to fight together and send a strong message. Here to kick us off today is Zoe, a fierce office cleaner who is here to share her story.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Zoe y soy miembro de Matahari.
Good morning, my name is Zoe and I am a member of Matahari. On September 20th, 2017, Hurricane Maria made landfall in Puerto Rico. I apologize. It came in as a Category 5 hurricane and provoked catastrophic flooding and general damages. Immediately after the hurricane, I migrated to Boston. And from the beginning, I began to experience workplaces that were abusive. I found myself working 15 hours a day with just a 30-minute break. I apologize. Before coming to what I thought would be a better work opportunity, cleaning offices through a business for the Association of Teachers of Massachusetts. I remember that once I showed up to work, but I felt so ill that I couldn't even make it to work. I asked a train employee to help me out so that I could call an ambulance to take me to the hospital. I was hospitalized for over a month. And during that time, I kept being responsible for finding coverage for my shift. My employer pressured me constantly so that I would come back to work, and would threaten me that if I didn't come back, they would fire me. Some colleagues told me that my employer was saying that I was on vacation.
Cuando me dieron de alta del hospital,
When they released me from the hospital, I spoke my truth. I spoke with the staff and the leadership of the Association of Teachers at Massachusetts about the working conditions, the deficient working conditions in which my colleagues and I had been working for too long in our building. There were moments during which we did not receive our pay, no benefits, or certain protections in the workplace. In addition, we talked about issues in the workplace, ranging from denying us sick leave to the violation of minimum wage laws. And when I advocated for this last part, they fired me. This interruption to my ability to sustain myself, I'm sorry, came from such a difficult time during the COVID-19 pandemic. I was evaluating actions against my employer for stolen wages with Matahari Workers Center's help. For all of you who are here, for those of you who are here today, if you believe that all workers deserve the right to speak, to have a voice, to have a dignified wage, to have fair and just working conditions, I ask you to please join me in this cause, in this moment. I ask that you please support me and my colleagues while we fight for justice and advocate for real consequences for employers who violate the law, including severe sanctions, options to exclude, the exclusion of governmental contracts. We demand strict dispositions against threats against workers such as myself, and that we stand up against abuse, because when employers violate the law, it means that the workers are left hopeless and unprotected. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I apologize. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you for sharing your story. It's so powerful. And like Zoe, there are so many people who remain silent. I ask that you keep raising your voices. Thank you again for bringing to light the reality of so many workers, so many underpaid workers. We understand how you feel, and we send you strength to keep moving forward. Our next speaker is Carmen.
Trabajadora de un restaurante que está aquí para exponer el robo de salario sin miedo. Vamos a escuchar a Carmen.
Los procedimientos de quiebra no deberían impedir que los trabajadores reciban los salarios que se les adeudan. Sin embargo, en Massachusetts, este es un patrón que ocurre con demasiada frecuencia. Mi nombre es Carmen, soy miembro de Matahari y he trabajado en la industria del restaurante durante los últimos 11 años. Justo antes de la pandemia, comencé a trabajar en un restaurante en las afueras de Boston. Finalmente, la empresa para la que trabajaba cerró y se acogió al capítulo 11 de la bancarrota. El empleador no nos dio una advertencia previa sobre la declaración de quiebra y solo supe que el restaurante estaba cerrado cuando me contactaron en mi día libre y me dijeron que no regresara al trabajo. Solo después me enteré que el dueño del restaurante se había declarado en quiebra un mes antes de mi despido y sin advertencia nos había dejado a muchos de sus empleados sin trabajo y sin sueldo, en medio de una pandemia mundial. Para empeorar las cosas, durante el mes antes de que el propietario se declarara en quiebra, intenté cobrar mis cheques de varios periodos de pago, pero los rebotaron, porque el empleador no tenía fondos suficientes. Como resultado de eso, comencé a retrasarme en los pagos de alquiler y las facturas de la casa. Ahora entiendo que esto se llama robo de salario. Poco después de perder mi trabajo, toda mi familia contrajo COVID. Tuve una hija que fue hospitalizada y se vio muy mal. Como trabajadora migrante, estoy luchando contra dos pandemias, una de salud y la otra de finanzas, debido a las acciones de mi empleador. Estoy perdiendo más que mi salud. Experimentar el robo de salario ha hecho que sea mucho más difícil cuidar de mi familia. Es por eso estoy aquí hoy como mujer luchando por nuestra dignidad colectiva. Es una tierra regida por leyes. Las empresas no deberían de aprovecharse de nuestra necesidad de trabajo y de nuestro sacrificio, de nuestra dignidad. Le pido que se una a nosotros hoy y que levante la voz y se enfrente al robo de salario.
Thank you, Carmen, for your powerful work.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Many of you have heard about the Hobbs Bakery campaign. Jobs with Justice and La Comunidad are leading this brigade. We're fighting here against the unjust firing of dozens of women workers at the beginning of the pandemic. And here with us today to share her story is Flor.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Flor.
Good morning, my name is Flor. I began working at a bakery in Malden, Hoff's Bakery. I am an Indigenous immigrant woman, and with a lot of hope, I began working. I came from my country due to poverty and other reasons. My hope became disillusionment after being there for a while, working and being exposed to chastisement. We only had 15 minutes to eat. We had to eat standing up. They wouldn't let us go to the bathroom. And we never knew when we were going to leave. We didn't have a schedule telling us when we were done. We didn't know how we would end our workday. I wanted to keep my job, so I put up with this, and I was happy to have a job. I know that it's difficult as an immigrant to find work when we don't have documents. In January, they made us change our names and apply through an agency, through a temp agency. And so we followed the rules of the bakery's owner. And we continued because we are a group of more than 35 people. And they made me change my name and apply through this agency, this temp agency. And I wanted to keep my job and follow the orders. We didn't know that we were going to lose our benefits as workers. They told us that nothing was going to complicate this, that there was no reason to mistrust, because some of my coworkers worked there from 7 to 13 years or even longer. To our surprise, in March, the pandemic arrived. And as we all know, the pandemic arrived in March. They closed the company for 2 weeks. And when we began to ask why we hadn't been called in to return to work, later we were called to be told that we didn't have jobs, and they couldn't tell us why. They wouldn't tell us why we were fired, why we weren't given the vacation pay that we had accumulated through this change of this campaign. Apologies. The change of vacation. this made us really sad, saddened our hearts, because he didn't give us any reason. So through this campaign, we have learned that the bakery received from the PPP program $1.21 million in aid, and all of us who were fired from the bakery, the owners also received a tax break for 5 years based on from the city of Malden. That just ended last year. It is not fair that my coworkers who helped grow this business, and when we most needed our jobs, we were fired. My message to all workers is to speak up, to not stay quiet. We came to this country because we needed to. We didn't come here for anything else. Find help. You have rights. Use your voices. Everyone who is here, please help us share our stories. We know that we have power when we unite. And thank God for allowing me to give my voice. I want to thank all women who are here today. I want to say to you, we really have to give thanks to God for allowing us to be here, and for all the people who help us. I want to thank all of you. We will not stay quiet. That is my word. It saddens my heart to share this story. You know, we stayed in our homes and it's difficult to find a job. But I want all organizations to help us out in different places, not just here in Massachusetts, but all across the United States. There are many people who need your help. I appreciate you from my heart. May God bless you, each and every one of you who are listening in this moment. Thank you. Thank you, Flor, for sharing your powerful testimony. Thank you for that voice that you have. Next, we will hear from a worker who is choosing to remain anonymous.
Que afecta a los trabajadores de todos los niveles de ingresos, los trabajadores de bajos salarios, a menudo las personas negras, indígenas, personas de color e inmigrantes se ven afectados de manera desproporcionada. Para las personas que ya ganan salarios bajos, los recortes de un cheque de pago pueden significar que no pueden alimentar a sus familias, cubrir el alquiler, el pago de facturas, los obliga a las familias a hacer concesiones difíciles entre nuestras necesidades básicas.
He vivido con mucho miedo durante los últimos años. Mi familia y yo huimos de nuestro país natal para alejarnos de la policía corrupta y de una pandilla que amenazaba a mi hija mayor, que ahora tiene 15 años. La migración no fue una opción, fue una necesidad para sobrevivir. Empezábamos a trabajar con un abogado que estaba dispuesto a hacerse cargo de nuestro caso por $17,000. Yo acababa de empezar a trabajar.
I had just started working at a well-known national fast food restaurant.
Había conseguido un
My
trabajo para
husband
una
had
empresa
gotten
de
a job
limpieza
for a
cuando se
janitorial
produjo la
company.
pandemia. La primavera pasada, COVID-19 detuvo nuestras vidas.
Last spring,
Salí positiva de
COVID-19
COVID-19 y estaba preocupada por cómo
affected
eso
our
afectaría
lives.
mi trabajo en el restaurante.
I ended up testing
Estaba
positive for
bastante asustada
COVID-19
por lo
and
que
I
eso
was worried
significaría
about
para
how
nosotros.
that would affect
Toda
my
mi
job
familia
at the
terminó
fast food
dando positivo
restaurant.
para el
I
virus.
was pretty scared
Mi
about what that
esposo y
would mean
yo
for us.
estábamos sin
My entire
trabajo y no
family ended
podíamos
up testing
satisfacer las
positive for the
necesidades
virus.
básicas de
My
nuestros
husband
hijos
and
y de
I were
nosotros
out of
mismos.
jobs, unable to provide basic
Contamos con la
necessities
ayuda
for
de
our
nuestra
children and
comunidad
ourselves.
y los recursos
We relied
proporcionados
on the
por
help of our
organizaciones
community
como
and
Matahari.
resources provided by our
Mantuve mi
organizations
trabajo
such as
actualizado
Matahari.
con mi pronóstico
I kept my
antes de
job
poder
up to
regresar
date
al
on my
trabajo.
prognosis
Di positivo
before
en
being
3
able to
ocasiones
return
más
to work.
y estuve
I
sin
tested
trabajo por un total de
positive
3 meses.
3
Cuando
more
pudimos
times
regresar
and
al
was out of
trabajo,
work for a
mi
total
esposo
of
se
3
enteró de
months.
que estaba sin
When we
trabajo
were able to
porque
get
la
back to
empresa
work,
cerró y a mí
my
me pusieron
husband
en el
was
horario un
able,
día a la semana.
found out he was out of a
Soy
job because the
elegible para
company
hasta
closed
80
down
días
and
de
I was
pago bajo
taken
la
down
ley
to 1 day a
Familias
week.
Primero de
I'm
respuesta al
eligible for
coronavirus porque no pude trabajar debido a mis resultados positivos de la prueba COVID-19. Después de que les mostré a mis empleadores mis pruebas positivas, prometieron pagarme por el tiempo que estuve fuera debido a COVID-19. Desafortunadamente, mi empleador nunca me proporcionó ninguna licencia remunerada durante el periodo que estuve fuera debido a COVID-19. Mi empleador violó la ley y me deja sin pagar en medio de una pandemia mundial. Me entristece realmente que los trabajadores de restaurantes se han enfrentado durante mucho tiempo a diversas formas de robo de salarios como resultado de esta pandemia. Proteger la salud física y la estabilidad financiera de los trabajadores es más importante que nunca ahora durante la pandemia de COVID-19.
According to the Wage Theft Coalition, composed of unions and worker centers, that is working to pass state legislation to address wage theft, nearly $1 billion in wages are stolen from hundreds of thousands of low-wage workers each year. In today's economy, wage theft has overwhelmed the capacity of our existing laws and enforcement mechanisms. Community organizations
Los organizadores de comunidad a través de Massachusetts
by introducing a bill to the State House called An Act to Prevent Wage Theft, Promote Employer Accountability, and Enhance Public Enforcement. This bill aims to reduce wage theft through retaliation protection and empowering the Attorney General with additional tools to hold violators fully accountable to recover what is wrongfully taken from workers and the state, among other measures. Here with us today is Kevin, Political Director at the Massachusetts AFL-CIO and co-chair of the Wage Theft Coalition.
Jessica, could you make Kevin a co-host? Just give us a second, Kevin.
Hola, Kevin.
Hello, everybody.
Hi,
Can you hear
Kevin.
me?
Yeah. Bienvenido, Kevin.
Welcome, Kevin.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Again, my name is Kevin Brusso. I'm the political director at the Mass AFL-CIO, representing 500,000 union members and all workers across Massachusetts. I'm also the co-chair of the Wage Theft Coalition alongside Natalicia Tracy. I just want to say thank you to the Matahari Women Workers Center for organizing this important event. Thank you to the brave workers who are sharing your stories here with us today. And thank you to Attorney General Healey for fighting wage theft every single day. Wage theft is a top legislative priority for the Mass AFL-CIO. Nearly $1 billion a year in Massachusetts are stolen from working people through various mechanisms, and it is wrong. S1179 and H1959, an act to prevent wage theft, promote employer accountability, and enhance public enforcement, sponsored by Senator D. Domenico and Rep. Donahue, adds tools for the Attorney General and working people to recover lost wages. Hopefully, it also provides motivation for bad acting companies who do steal wages to change their practices. The biggest change this bill would make is the creation of lead contractor liability. What this means is if you work for a subcontractor who steals your wages, you actually have the ability to go after the lead contractor at the top of the food chain, who most likely is making the most money off of those bad practices for those damages and wages. That is a huge new tool for all of us. Finally, what I would ask everybody to do is just please contact your legislators, talk to folks within your organizations, talk to your neighbors, talk to your family. Just keep the conversation going about this really important issue. Thus far, we have over 130 legislators who are co-sponsors and committed to this issue, but we don't want to stop until this issue is passed and it's a priority for every single person in the Commonwealth. So once again, I really want to thank you all for having me. And most of all, I want to thank you all for the truly important work that you all do every single day. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we will hear from a restaurant worker who, although works as a cook, also serves to benefit from the one fair wage bill recently introduced to the Massachusetts State House, which would eliminate the sub-minimum wage and guarantee tip workers access to the base minimum wage. The one fair wage bill would reallocate the distribution of wages within restaurants, closing the wealth disparity that exists amongst kitchen and dining rooms. Here with us today is Olga, who has continued to work as a cook and domestic worker throughout the pandemic.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Olga, and I'm a leader and board member with the Matahari Women Workers Center. I see myself as a hard worker, but sometimes that is not recognized at work. I work long hours with very little pay, no benefit, even without break, and often without help. The situation is made even worse by harassment and discrimination. This issue existed even before the pandemic, and now it's even worse. I have to take on multiple jobs just to survive. For example, some weeks I was only offered one shift. I did not receive any support on transportation, mask, and other COVID safety equipment. I know that a lot of other restaurant workers, domestic workers, and caregivers and essential workers are struggling in these ways. Outside of restaurant work, I have worked as a nanny for several families. As domestic workers, we work in private households, usually without co-workers. We must try to assert our rights in isolation. Employers fail to see their homes as workplaces, and we are denied basic labor protections. We feel the impacts of the historic devaluation of care work, so often carried by Black women and often women of color. In one nanny job, I was paid sub-minimum wages and not paid at all for 3 weeks. In another nanny job, my employer told me she'd pay me when she could. She never did. Top minimum wage leads to a lot of wage theft across the domestic work and restaurant industry, which is why it is so important to support legislation like the One Fair Wage campaign, which will benefit restaurant workers in the act to prevent wage theft, promote employer accountability, and enhance public enforcement, which will benefit other industries, including domestic workers. Let this be your call to action. Will you join us? Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Olga.
Thank you so much, Olga.
Gracias por esa voz. Gracias
Thank you for your voice. Thank you to all of the women who have been able to participate. We now give a welcome to Derlin. For legislators on the call who want to see an end to wage theft in the restaurant industry, you can support workers by co-sponsoring the act requiring one fair wage, or H1971 and S1213. Wage theft in the restaurant industry is a direct result of the sub-minimum wage for tipped workers, which makes it impossible to regulate the restaurant industry and to hold bad businesses accountable. Domestic workers and restaurant workers have some of the hardest and less secure jobs in the nation. And now they are organizing to change that. Here with us today to share her story is Derlin. Welcome, Derlin. Good morning. My name is Derlin Castro. Apologies, I am a member of Matahari Women Workers Center. I work in a private residence as a domestic worker. At the beginning, they hired me to clean. And after some weeks passed, the woman was no longer telling me to just clean. She was also asking me to take care of her grandchildren. It was 4 children between the ages of 3 and 9. I had to do other things around the house, such as cleaning the house. I had to wash the dishes. I had to do laundry. I had to drive her to the clinic when she had medical appointments. If she needed to go shopping, I had to do it. When in reality, she hired me to clean, not to do additional jobs around her house. As time passed, I worked in that house for 1.5 years, and she would make me use Clorox and Ajax to clean the house, to wash the clothes. And it's very difficult sometimes because out of necessity, you allow people to steal from you, to steal your money, when this woman, in the beginning, she would say to me, just clean. And I wasn't counting on her later to just keep adding to the workload. I would work for 10 hours and I had to be available 7 days a week. At whatever time she called, I had to drop things to be at work. And the salary that I was earning was $350 a week. There was no money for extra work done. There was no food. And one day she treated me so harshly. Sometimes as a worker, you put up with so much in your place of work. I'm telling you, women, we need to raise our voices. We need to share our stories, because I am so grateful to God, but I'm also grateful to this organization. May God bless each and every one of you, honestly, for your time, because you really take the time to help out, to support us. I took legal action, and thank God, because I said I'm going to raise my voice, not just for myself, but for others who are maybe scared to speak, so that we are not afraid. It doesn't matter if you're documented or undocumented, we all have rights. And when we join together with people who take the time and the patience to teach us what our rights are, we can reach all of these things. From all my heart, I say to you, raise our voices. Let's find help. Let's not be silenced. Because sometimes we put up with so much that is unfair. I think that all of us have rights. We all have lives. We have families, responsibilities. We have things to do in our homes. And people take advantage of us. Employers treat us as if we were their property and we have to obey whatever they say. But it's not like that. That's not fair. I speak to you from my whole heart. Sometimes they don't hear us. People who maybe we complain to, but keep raising our voices, so that maybe I individually won't win my case, but seeing that we speak up, that we are not silenced, will ensure that people are less abusive, that they are not stealing our wages, that they are not stealing our money. Have a good day. May God really bless you. And I apologize. I don't feel very well, my health today, but I hope I have the space to listen to all these testimonies. May you have a blessed day. And really, women warriors, raise your voices. If we raise our voices, I assure you, we will win. Hugs, blessings, have a good day.
Muchísimas gracias, Darlene, por ese testimonio.
Thank you so much, Darlene, for your testimony.
I have the honor of introducing our next speaker, the Attorney General of Massachusetts, Maura Healey. We are excited to have her video remarks today for this special event. Attorney General Healey has been a champion for workers, and with her team has helped make the Massachusetts Domestic Workers Bill of Rights, which Matahari helped pass into law in 2014. We are thrilled to hear her speak to her office's work to combat wage theft and other labor violations amongst domestic workers, restaurant workers, and other immigrants.
Good morning. Thank you, Julia Beebe and others at Matahari Women's Workers Center for the invitation to join you virtually here today. Thanks to Olga, Zoe, Carmen, Derlin, Floor, and other workers who've been brave enough to share their stories. And thanks to all of you, the essential workers who've been on the front lines throughout this pandemic, whether it's providing childcare, caring for the elderly, preparing meals. This year has been such a challenge. We've seen widespread unemployment. I know restaurant workers and tip workers are struggling the most. We've seen inequalities in access to health care and vaccines, and we've seen persistent labor abuse. Today, we're here for a simple reason: to ensure that every worker is paid what they're owed. We know that wage theft steals billions of dollars every year from workers. This makes it harder for families to pay the rent, to buy groceries, to pay for education and health care. And it doesn't just hurt workers and their families, it hurts all of us. So fighting wage theft is a priority. That's why my office is committed to fighting worker exploitation in every form. Workers deserve to be paid a living wage, to take paid time off when they're sick or to care for their children, and to be safe on the job. Last year, my office assessed more than $12.3 million in restitution and penalties against employers for violating our state wage and hour laws. These employers cheated vulnerable workers out of minimum wage, overtime, sick time, and a range of other benefits. My Fair Labor Division has prioritized enforcement and will continue to do so, especially in industries involving restaurants and domestic workers. We also successfully defended the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights law against a challenge. That court victory in federal court confirmed what I said back in 2015, that au pairs are domestic workers and protected under the law. My Fair Labor Division will be out there continuing to bring enforcement actions and working to protect workers. And protecting immigrant workers and communities also continues to be a priority across my office. We want all workers in Massachusetts to know that they're entitled to protections and benefits of the law. My office is here to protect you, regardless of your immigration status. That's why we've issued and translated into multiple languages an advisory notifying workers of their rights in the workplace. We've prioritized hiring diverse and multilingual staff so that language access will never be a barrier. Now, I can't tell you how much I appreciate and value partnerships with community organizations like Matahari. We can't do this work alone. And these partnerships are even more important during this pandemic. One immediate response to the pandemic focused on securing workers' outstanding wages, access to paid sick leave, and health and safety in the workplace. Fair Labor Division mobilized quickly to respond to an overwhelming number of calls from workers about their safety. The Fair Labor team assisted callers with other concerns about paid leave and unemployment benefits. We know the difficult challenges that so many have faced over the year, and I just want you to know the Attorney General's office, we are here to work with you in protecting our workers. Thank you again to the Matahari Center for everything that you do, for bringing us together today. I'm proud as always to stand with you.
Thank you to everyone who joined us for this powerful day. We encourage you to take action to fight against wage theft and wing strong worker protections. Right now, we're sharing a Matahari commitment card link for members and partners on today's call who are inspired to take action. On the card, you will see options to join Our Work, Our Worth campaign if you want to continue with other workers and partners to win back pay you are owed or support other workers in doing so. You will also see how to take action to end the subminimum wage for tip workers through one fair wage legislation, as well as other upcoming opportunities. For nannies and other workers who will be staying on for the rest of International Nanny Training Day, we will take a break and come back together at 11:05. Please stay on the link. For any press with questions, please feel free to put your questions in the chat, as we will answer what we can in the next few minutes. Please also see the contact information we're putting in the chat if you have any follow-up questions or want to request an interview with Matahari worker leader about our wage theft campaign. Like I said, if there are any press that would like to stay on for a couple of minutes, please feel free to stay on. We're going to be breaking out into a breakout room. We'd like to thank everybody for coming out, everyone from Jobs with Justice, Hoff's Bakers, all the workers that spoke today, the Fair Wage Coalition, Justice at Work, and our BC lawyers. Thank you so much.